the pearl of great price. The merchant had spent most of his life studying pearls. In the markets along the coast, merchants gathered early in the morning. Traders opened their cases. Small cloth pouches were untied. Pearls rolled gently across dark fabric as buyers leaned closer to examine them. Some men looked quickly. The merchant did not. He held each pearl carefully between his fingers, turning it slowly toward the light. He studied the surface, the color, the depth beneath the shine. Years of searching had trained his eyes to notice what others missed. Many pearls were beautiful. Few were extraordinary. And somewhere in the quiet places of his mind, he believed that one existed, one that would surpass them all. Other merchants would have been satisfied long ago. There were good pearls in every market, pearls that could be bought and sold for a strong profit. But the merchant kept searching. He traveled from one trading city to another. He listened to rumors of rare finds. He examined pearls brought up from distant waters. Again and again he leaned closer, studying them carefully, hoping that this time the search might end. He had spent so many years searching that the pursuit itself had become part of who he was. Some men build their lives around land, some around trade. The merchant had built his life around the possibility that somewhere there was a pearl unlike any other. One afternoon, a crowd gathered along the edge of the market road. A teacher from Galilee had stopped to speak. Travelers paused to listen. Merchants drifted closer, curious about the voice that seemed to carry so easily across the small gathering. The merchant did not move at first. He was still examining a pearl resting in his palm. But the words began to reach him. The teacher was speaking about the kingdom of heaven. Some stories had already passed through the crowd that day. Stories about seeds and fields, about fishermen and nets. The merchant listened only half attentively at first, the way a man listens while his hands remain occupied. Then he heard something that caused him to lift his head. The kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls. Matthew chapter 13, verse 45. For a moment the sounds of the market seemed to fade. The merchant stood very still, a merchant in search of pearls. That was his life. Every market he had visited, every pearl he had studied, every journey he had taken along the trade roads of the coast. The teacher's words felt strangely close to home. The crowd leaned in as the teacher finished the story. Who, on finding one pearl of great value, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Matthew chapter 13, verse 46. A murmur passed quietly through the listeners. Some nodded as if the story were obvious. A man who recognizes something valuable sells everything in order to obtain it. But the merchant did not nod. He was still holding the pearl he had been studying when the story began. Slowly he looked down at it again. It was a good pearl, rare enough that many men would have been pleased to own it. Yet something inside him had always known that pearls like this were not the reason he kept searching. He had seen many like it, beautiful, valuable, still not the one. The merchant slowly closed his hand around the pearl and looked back toward the teacher standing along the road. A merchant searching for pearls. A man who recognizes one pearl so valuable that he sells everything to obtain it. For years, the merchant had believed that somewhere such a pearl might exist. But now another thought was pressing into his mind. What if the teacher was not really speaking about pearls? The merchant looked again at the pearls laid out across the market tables. For the first time, he wondered if the treasure he had been chasing all these years was not something drawn from the sea at all. What if the pearl Jesus was describing was the kingdom itself? The search he had spent his life pursuing was not only about objects of value. It was about the quiet conviction that somewhere there must be something greater than all the treasures he had already seen. Something final, something that would end the search. In that moment, the merchant felt a strange clarity settle over thoughts he had carried for years, but never fully understood. The search had never really been about pearls. The merchant did not know the words of the ancient writings that said, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity into man's heart." Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11. But standing there in the market, he felt the truth of it. The restless searching that had driven him from city to city had always been reaching for something eternal. And now this teacher was saying that the kingdom of heaven was the treasure that finally answered that longing. Stories like this were beginning to unfold around Jesus more often than people realized. There was once a young ruler who approached Jesus with a sincere question about eternal life. He had lived carefully, faithfully. His life was ordered around the commands of God. But when Jesus invited him to release the wealth he had built his life around and follow him, the cost suddenly felt too heavy. When the young man heard this, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. Matthew chapter 19, verse 22. He had seen the pearl, but he could not bring himself to sell everything. Years later, another man would describe a very different moment of discovery. Paul had spent his life searching for righteousness through discipline, knowledge, and devotion. Few people had pursued faith with greater intensity. Yet when he encountered Jesus, the value of everything he had once trusted suddenly shifted. But whatever gain I had, I counted as loss for the sake of Christ. Philippians chapter 3, verse 7. Paul had seen the pearl. And once he saw it clearly, the decision was simple, nothing else compared. This is the quiet power of Jesus' parable. The merchant does not sell everything because he is forced to. He sells everything because he finally sees what is truly valuable. The kingdom of heaven is not one treasure among many. It is the pearl that makes every other treasure seem small. Once the pearl is seen clearly, the search ends. And the question becomes very simple. What would we keep that is worth more than this? As you sit with this teaching today, consider where the quiet search for meaning and lasting hope may still be shaping your life. Where have you already begun to glimpse the value of the kingdom Jesus is describing? And are there places where something else still feels too valuable to release? If you're willing, share your reflections or questions in the comments so we can learn and walk this journey together.